How many of you have gone through tough times? I mean, times so painful, it seems nothing good can come from it. I've suffered from rejection too many times to count, and each time it doesn't hurt any less. One thing I know is that we can all help each other, we can learn from each other, and we can grow from our experiences. So today, let's talk about finding purpose in the pain we suffer. Hi, I'm Natasia, a wife, mother, coach, and consultant. My mission is to inspire and encourage you as we tackle life's challenges together. On this channel, we explore topics like personal growth, faith, leadership, and navigating everyday struggles. If that sounds like something you're into, hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell to stay connected. So let's talk about the pain we suffer when we pursue purpose. I'd like to share a few stories with you to illustrate my journey, and make sure to stick around until the end where I share a few tips I've learned from my experiences. So let's get started with story number 1. I used to work for the Postal Service, specifically within the HR organization. I had to take a 5-day trip to California, and one of the locations was in LA. Specifically, I had to visit a facility on South Central Boulevard in the heart of Compton. Yep, you heard me right. In the heart of Compton. Before the trip, there were some colleagues and people from other teams that stated, "Your team must not like you since they're sending you out there. Don't you know there have been muggings and kidnappings in that location?" Let me tell you, I was frightened to the bone. And I've shared before in previous videos that I'm an introvert, and going out there alone to a dangerous part of LA, you cannot fathom the fear I felt. So on that trip to California, there was a delay getting off the first leg of my trip. There was this guy sitting next to me that struck up a conversation. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, right? The introvert in me was screaming, absolutely. So how do you introverts out there handle situations like this? Drop it in the comments below. So the guy asked where I was from, and I shared the location. Get this. He was from the same location. It's a small town most people have no clue about. And this definitely seemed like a coincidence. He asked what my name was, and I shared my maiden name with him. Then he asked me if I knew a particular person. Let me tell you, when the guy mentioned his name, I immediately started crying. Why, right? That seems like an odd reaction to the question, and I bet you're thinking I'm crazy. Well, the name the guy mentioned was my father's name. My dad had passed back in 1999, and this guy happened to be a childhood friend of my father's. It was at this moment when I knew God had become real to me. That encounter was perfectly positioned. It was on the way to California and before any of the activities commenced for my work trip. Remember, I said I was scared to go. I was dreading going to LA because of what my colleagues had mentioned about the muggings and the kidnappings. I knew from that moment that God was letting me know everything was going to be okay. So fast forward, the trip went on without a hitch. I made new friends to help me in LA, and I was covered, and I had absolutely nothing to worry about in the end. I learned that fear is paralyzing and can stop you from experiencing beautiful moments. You have to push past the fear, the pain you are feeling in that moment, to see the blessings. God became real to me in those moments, and I learned that He had me covered the entire time. There was no reason for me to worry. So once I pushed past that fear and the pain, I saw the beauty. You know, for an example, I got to drive down the Pacific Coast Highway for the first time, and it was breathtaking. So let's move on to story number 2. So after leaving the Postal Service, I was recruited by a Big 4 consultant company. You know, in those places, in order to succeed, you need connections. I had none. So again, I'm an introvert, but I was up for the challenge. I was ready to tackle my fears after experiencing the awe-inspiring trip to California. So they matched me with a performance counselor. It's not you picking them or them picking you. It's an assigned match. My performance counselor was not a good match for me. I had to hurry up and find a project too. This was my introduction to the Big Four, and it was not going good. So, did you know that if you join a Big Four and you don't have a project to work on when you initially join, you have to actively work to find a project? I didn't know that. It was like going through the interview process all over again just to find a project. So that counselor gave me a few names and I did my best, but things weren't working out and I was running out of time. The counselor said, "You're from Postal. Go speak to people from Postal on those contracts over there." The suggestion was a little unusual to me since I literally just left the Postal Service. I was a federal employee then and would now be coming back as a contractor, so a different role. But time to find a project was running out. So I did as she suggested, and I ended up making a connection over there and I landed a project. But again, it was not a good fit. That manager over there didn't like me, and frankly, that manager made things very tough for me. So it was at that point I felt defeated. I felt defeated. I feared about my future there. The pain was definitely real. And unfortunately, I didn't see anything beautiful coming from this. I ended up leaving that project and finding another one. While in the search process, I found someone who would become my mentor. We immediately connected and I found my beautiful moment. What I learned from this situation is that you have to be authentic. These type of organizations indoctrinate you to adhere and assimilate into their corporate culture. What made this situation tough was being an introvert. The struggle to fit in was real. The rejection was real. However, I went against the grain and stayed true to myself. When you are authentic, it leaves open space for the real ones to find you and help you. True opportunities are born when you are being your authentic self. So it was at this point when I saw the beauty in my pain. Have you ever been in a situation when authenticity provided you with an opportunity? Please share in the comments below. All right, so let's get into the third story, and this is the final story. This story picks up where the last story left off. So my mentor left the Big Four company for a major opportunity. When my mentor was settled, they presented me with an opportunity to come and work for them. So it was for a small consulting company. Since it was small, there would be more opportunity there. And I was particularly interested in helping to build out a new service line. I got a small team together and we created a proposal to pitch to leadership. And everything went well, and leadership was bought into the idea of bringing this to life. Then one day, I was approached by a colleague who also happened to work at the same Big Four. However, I did not know this person when we worked there. Leadership decided they were going to make my colleague the lead of this new service line instead of me. When I asked why, I was told that they were more familiar with my colleague. I had the diversified experience for this service line, and I even had the certifications to back it up. So in my head, I was better positioned, but hey, it's their company. Despite this setback, despite the pain and rejection I felt, I continued to show up. I supported my colleague and did what was needed so we could all be successful. So fast forward a few years, leadership decided to pursue an opportunity that correlated with my experience at the Postal Service as a federal employee. Go figure, right? So this was daunting because it seemed like a really good opportunity, but I also had a strong gut feeling that this was going to be a setup for failure. I had learned that the agency that we were going to be contracting for was really bad. I had just heard really bad stories about that agency. And honestly, when I worked at the Big Four, I would avoid it at all costs. So we bid on the opportunity with another Big Four company in which I also had heard bad things about. Because of my postal experience, I was bid as one of the key people, meaning if we win, I have to go there. And you see how postal keeps showing up in all of these stories? It's all connected. Go figure. Well, if we won this work, two of my worst nightmares would be played out. So guess what? That's exactly what happened. It was a very challenging situation. It really did feel like it was a setup for failure. And since I was overwhelmed and had preconceived notions, I was out of my comfort zone. I did what I felt was needed, what I felt was right to navigate in this new space. Well, that wasn't enough. I was told on several occasions, you need to speak up more. Rejection, anyone? Man, the pain. Okay, so I believe in being authentic, and I do not like to speak up unless I have something of value to add. Well, I continued to be overwhelmed until one day I decided I wasn't going to care what people told me anymore. As long as I do what's right, as long as I am true to myself, as long as I am not breaking any laws, and as long as I'm fulfilling contractual obligations, then I will do what I feel is the right thing to do. So once I took that approach, things started to turn around for me. Here was the beauty. I reconnected with the person I've always been and was meant to be. The project continued to be challenging. However, I found my stride and rhythm to managing this project. I realized that I had what I needed on the inside of me to overcome any challenge this whole entire time. I learned that I had to stop letting fear and rejection take root and stop me. What is for me will always be mine. It doesn't matter what anyone does, or in this case, what may seem like I lost. No one can block you or me from our purpose or our destiny except ourselves. So, what is my point in all of this? We all face challenging situations, and there are times when we feel rejected. There are times when we are in pain, and there are times when we feel like we're an underdog. But there is purpose in our pain. Let me say that again. There is purpose in the pain. I've learned that rejection has a role in purpose, and it may try to stop you from starting or continuing down that path. I've learned that fear is an indicator that you are bumping up against your purpose. Like rejection, when fear hits, the most logical thing to do is to run from it. My friend, do the illogical thing and run towards it. Nothing with meaning ever comes easy. I've learned that pain connects. Rarely are we the only one experiencing challenges. When we connect, we are able to learn from each other. I've learned that pain provides clarity on what we are meant to do. The thing that pains us the most is an indication that there is something there we need to explore. So in Romans chapter 8 verse 28, it states, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. The next time you find yourself in a painful situation, think about what it is teaching you. Don't run from it, run to it. There is purpose in your pain. All right, so I want to hear from you. Do you have similar experiences or stories to share? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your family and friends if this helped you. And until next time, take care.